If you can find a way in your pain to find something funny, you can make it through anything.
There comes a moment in your life when you're standing on the edge of a balcony, ripping your hair out of your head, using a voice for a dog to defend yourself, that you think, maybe I should go back to therapy. And the minute I got to LA, that is just what I did.
I would never have thought doing a one-woman show and a documentary I would have healed myself from this death. But talking about it and hearing yourself talk and finding the missing pieces to the puzzle accidentally has done an amazing, or it's had an amazing healing effect on me.
There's really only one way I can describe our monstrous Italian arrival. The Sopranos meets Green Acres.
My family, my mother was a nun and my father was a monk, and they were from Brooklyn, and very Italian family. And my dad wanted to be like St. Francis and have a farm full of animals. So he decided to move to Alachua, Florida, to pursue this dream of having a farm like St. Francis, except for he didn't really have the skill St. Francis had, so he was a fish out of water, so to speak. And that's how I always felt living in Alachua, because there were no really other Italian kids around, and I had big frizzy curly hair and a big Italian nose, and I got made fun of that a lot. When I met Katie, I think that's the thing that bonded us the most, is we sort of always felt like a fish out of water. And, our parents were both working all the time, and we had these older sisters that kind of wanted nothing to do with us. So I took that role, because I was a little older than her. I took that role on to be the big sister, to protect her. And she sort of, was my little sister that would yell at anybody that was mean to me. And we became really good friends, and we were both really talented athletes. So we spent a lot of time on the softball field together. She had this infectious laugh that, she started laughing, everybody started laughing. And she was a beautiful girl and full of energy and very loving, and she was very popular and liked by everybody. So you didn't really know she had this dark side to her until it happened. She had a temper. She would get mad, overly mad about, I remember we were going to prom and her boyfriend brought he bought the white corsage instead of the red corsage, and you just couldn't calm her down. She was just furious. But that was the only time I remember seeing her really emotional, and then out of nowhere she was gone. We had made a pact the night before she died that we were going to break up with our boyfriends. And when I got home, I didn't have the backbone to get rid of my boyfriend. And my mom had said that she had called. So I was embarrassed to tell her that I didn't come through with our promise. And so I started calling early the next day and called and called and called. And I had a weird feeling in my gut that something was wrong. And then I had found out that night that she did, in fact, take her own life.
I came home, it was about, I want to say it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock, maybe later, and I was coming down the hill and a fire truck was coming up from there and turning around right before I was getting to it. And every time I see a fire truck or an ambulance, I always pray that wherever they're going, whoever will be safe. And I remember pulling past it, and it comes in behind me and then pulls into my driveway where the ambulance and everything is. I walked through the door, and I feel like I didn't hear a whole lot. There was just so much at one time that I don't remember a whole lot, just that she shot herself. But I remember asking, is she dead? They said yes, and they were just trying to keep us out of the house for them to finish everything. So I guess, it had happened at 12 o'clock, so it had happened several hours beforehand.
There was little notes laid out, one by one of who it was supposed to go to, and she had left letters. And in doing my interviews for the documentary, I've actually realized that she had called everybody one by one to say goodbye in her own way, where they didn't actually know. So for years and years and years, I blamed myself. I thought maybe she didn't call at all to talk about the boyfriend. She had called for me to help her, and I failed her as a friend. And then in doing the interviews for the documentary, I realized that, she had called me to say goodbye. It wasn't about that boyfriend. And then in writing my one-woman show and doing the funeral scene, all these years later, I just shut my eyes and wrote about what she looked like in the coffin. And I remembered she had blood still on her hand, on the trigger finger, that they didn't get it out from under the nail. And I just had this breakdown, like, you have blamed yourself for years for her death, and the blood literally was on her hand. It was on her hand. She did this to herself.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blindsided podcast. My name is Jeannette Rizzi, and we are happy to be here on radio.
I've always had my sense of humor, even in the worst times. So I decided to save my life by writing a story that was both powerful and poignant and hilarious, which sounds odd about suicide, but I had to get it off my chest. So it took me 10 years to get over that death. And I still miss her terribly, but in doing the show, I've healed myself. And I've let that pain out, literally on a stage and in front of cameras. I've just let it out. The day after Katie died, my sister actually, bought me a dog. I still have the dog. He's 18. I believe that dog will stay with me until he knows that I am okay. And he is everything in the world to me. And I wanted to die so badly, but I just couldn't leave him. There was no way I would leave this dog. And so when she had died, it was about 6 years afterwards, and I was madly in love with a guy that I shouldn't have been. Again, that was my life at that time. And he was the one person that took time with me in the way Katie did of, are you okay? And he was using me, but I didn't know that then. And so I had this, my heart and soul, I was in love with him. And then he left me, and he ran away, and he stole food out of my refrigerator. And when I came in and saw that the other person, yet another person that I loved, had left me, it broke me. And so I walked to the edge of my balcony, and I put my one foot up on the rail, and then my dog Flash licked my other leg, and it sort of just snapped me out of it. And I fell back on my balcony, and since then I haven't turned back on that. Sure, I have bad days, but there's no way.
Do you ever feel like that people make fun of you so much you can't take it anymore? Yeah, you do?
What inspires me to keep going is what people say to me after the show, or that anytime someone talks to me about what I do, they relate to me. I mean, today, speaking at the middle school, this young, beautiful girl came up to me in front of the whole auditorium and whispered in my ear about being bullied, and she said, well, what if they make fun of your last name? And she was just crying hysterically, and those are the things that tell me to keep going. If I could turn back time. So I'm a female in America, and I tell really dirty jokes on stage, and of course I'm labeled, and I'm single, and I don't care what people say about me anymore. You can't. If you want to be amazing in life and have an amazing life, you can't waste time worrying about what everybody's going to label you as. You have to find who you are and go for it, and I'm going for it.